Hi, today is 1 May 2024. It's exactly 30 years after the unexpected death of Formula 1 legend Ayrton Senna on Imola circuit. And this video is about how his life and his death relate to my theory about the dates of the rapture of the church and the return of Jesus Christ. It's a strange claim, I know. I would not believe someone else who claims this, but 2 years ago I stumbled upon the timeline with the end time dates, and since then I have found many patterns that all point to the same dates. This is biblical patterns, biblical events, modern day history, World War II, celestial signs, solar eclipses, earthquakes, everything. People. So 2 days ago I read an article about Ayrton Senna, and I realized that his death today is 30 years ago. So I decided to see if there are special relations between his life and the dates on my timeline, especially because Senna is known as one of the best drivers in history, and he was known as a devout Christian. And it has always been strange to me that he suddenly died. Maybe he was the only known Christian in the Formula 1 field, and he crashes suddenly. So I decided to investigate it, and I found very remarkable patterns. And for me it made me realize that I have to reach out now. It all has to do with numbers for me. Much of my theory is based on biblical verses, but also biblical numbers. Many of them are explained in Pastor Steve Cicolanti's The Divine Code, and because Senna's death is 30 years ago now, the number 30 is relevant to me. And I quote, 30 is the number of dedication or start of ministry. So when I read that and I found these patterns, I decided to talk to my brother about this and about my hesitations to reach out. And he said, you remind me of a story that our pastor told in church about a guy who was warned by his neighbor for a coming flood. So his neighbor said, the water is coming, we have to move, we have to go. And he said, no, thank you, I'm waiting for God to rescue me. The water came and he moved up one floor, and a boat came, and they said, come with us. And he said, no thanks, I'm waiting for God to rescue me. And the water kept rising, and once he was up on the roof, a helicopter came trying to rescue him, and he said, no thanks, I'm waiting for God. And the water kept rising, and he drowned. And when he died and went to heaven, he said to God, why didn't you rescue me? And he said, I sent you the neighbor, I sent the boat, and I sent an helicopter. What else do you expect from me? You have to take action yourself. And my brother said, you have all the patterns, all the knowledge, and you learn about this 2 days before the 30th day, and you know the number 30 is relevant to you. You're the guy that's waiting for God instead of listening to the neighbor, stepping into the boat, or going with the helicopter. So here I am telling my story. What's important to know is that that's not the thing my brother told me. He said, you can't tell a little bit, you have to tell everything. And I was reluctant of that, because once I share the dates, there's no way back. Everyone knows them or is able to know them. And I've learned that it impacts your life. It gives a sense of urgency, and you'll start thinking about what's important and what is not. So it's quite a thing to share these dates with people, and most of them won't even bother. But for those who see the patterns and are starting to get convinced, yeah, it might be life-changing, and I don't want to mislead you. That's my greatest fear. So that's why I'm very careful, that's why I have been very careful with sharing these dates. But I think, based on everything I see and know and have learned, I think God is telling me that this is the right moment. So, what you need to know about my theory is that it includes the life of Jesus, the date of his birth, 19 August 1 BC, and the date of his crucifixion, 22 April 34 AD. That's a lifespan of 12,299 days, 12299. That's important when I come to Senna later in this video. The other thing that's important to know, and in my book and in future videos I'll explain how it all works and how it's all connected and how I found these patterns, but the date of the rapture is 10 September 2029. It's the Feast of Trumpets of the year 5790 on the Hebrew calendar, and the return of Jesus is 2300 days later, based on Daniel 8:14, if I remember it correctly. The return date is the third day of Hanukkah on 28 December 2035, or 27 Kislev in the year 5796 on the Hebrew calendar. I like it that it's Hanukkah because it is the Jewish feast of light, and we expect the return of the light of the world. That's one clue why I think that it's an elegant timeline. So we have the life of Jesus being 12,299 days. We have the rapture on 10 September 2029 and the return of Jesus on 28 December 2035. That's relevant for what I am going to explain about Senna. Senna was born on 21 March 1960 and he died 1 May 1994. His life was... I have to explain. I have to count. It's 12,459 days. So that's the life of Jesus, 12,299 plus 160. The life of Jesus plus a random number, 160. From his death until the rapture, when the church raises up to heaven, it's the life of it is 12,960 days, 16 days, 12916. That is the life of Jesus plus 617 days, another random number. But when you add 160 and 617, you get a total of 777. And when you read the first chapter of the Bible, Genesis 1, you learn that God made the earth in 7 days. 7 is the holiest number in the Bible, and the God of the Bible is a Trinity: Father, Son, Holy Spirit. So a Trinity of sevens, it grabbed my attention, and from Senna's birth to from Senna's birth to the rapture of the church is Jesus' life plus 777 days plus Jesus' life again. And when we have those 777 days in the middle and you take the 160 days, you get a ratio that gives the number of chapters in the Bible, 1189, on a total of 579 years. So I'm a bit juggling with the numbers here, but it's remarkable that those 777 days in the middle have a ratio that points to the Bible and the year of the return of Jesus. I'll write the numbers down in the description below if this went too fast, and no doubt that I will get some questions about it, but I hope that you see the picture here. The next point that I want to address is Senna's career. He became world champion for the first time on 30 October 1988. This was in Suzuka, Japan, and it was 66 months before his last pole position in Imola. So he died 66 months and 1 day after his first World Championship. He has an amazing testimony. He has given an amazing testimony about that championship, that he thanked God in the last lap and that he actually saw God during that lap. And I don't know if it's true, but the article I read about it said that it was the first time that he openly testified about his faith. So if that is true, you might argue that there was a duration of 66 months that Senna openly confessed his faith in God as a world champion in Formula 1. 66 is relevant because it's the number of books in the Bible, 39 in the Old Testament and 27 in the New Testament. So it's remarkable to see that Senna has been living as a world champion for 66 months. And it almost seems cruel that the man who was a devoted Christian, maybe the only one in the Formula 1 field, and certainly the most famous one, he died suddenly in a corner that's called Tamburello corner, translated tambourine, which is a joyful instrument in the Bible. You might even argue there is no God, or it's ironical, but there's more to this. It's so beautiful. I think it relates to Isaiah 57 verse 1 and 2. I'll read that later in the video. So Senna lived as a world champion for 66 months. He became a 3-time world champion with a career total of 41 victories and 65 pole positions. His last pole position was the day before his death in Imola. When you count the years from his death, 1 May 1994 until the date of Jesus' return on my timeline, you get 41 years and 241 days. And the Earth rotates around the Sun in 365.25 days. So when you divide 241 days by 365.25 a year, you get 0.6598220, if I'm correct from out of my head. So the number of years 2 digits behind the decimal point from Senna's death until Jesus' return is 41.65. 66 would maybe even better, but I like 65 because it's the number of Grand Prix victories and the number of pole positions, 41.65. What's more to say? Isaiah 57. When I found these numbers, I have the urge to see numbers that I like, that suit my theory. And when I am confronted with early deaths, I like to think about Isaiah 57 verse 1 and 2. It's from the King James version, and hopefully I can read it correctly. The righteous perisheth, and no man layeth it to heart, and merciful men are taken away, none considering that the righteous is taken away from evil to come. He shall enter into peace, they shall rest in their beds, each one walking in his uprightness. So, in other words, when someone dies an early death, he gets reunited with God, escaping the earthly life. And I think that happened to Senna, but I could not find numbers. I could not find 57, I could not find 1 or 2, because he was a 3-time world champion, until I saw an article about an Australian millionaire or billionaire who has bought a penthouse and he put his McLaren Senna GTR Special Edition race car, and he put it in his living room on the 57th floor, and it was the 1988 Championship Edition. Well, it's not this car, but it was a replica. It's in the colors of Senna's 1988 car with the number 12 on it. So we have the 57th floor with car number 12, 1-2. It literally says Isaiah 57, 1 and 2. For me it seems like Senna has completed his mission. And that when he steered into Tamburello corner, translated tambourine, which is a joyful instrument, and which is an instrument that is used when warriors come home from battle. It's not cruel that it happened there. I think from an earthly perspective it's very sad, but I think from a heavenly perspective it was a joyful moment, and however, I prefer to see life over death. I think, how do I say this right? I prefer to see life over death, but as a sportsman I think it's not the worst death to die suddenly during doing what you loved most on this earth. So it still saddens me that the accident is still tragic, but I hope that someone gets comforted knowing that Senna is where he's most welcome. And yeah, I think that's all what I wanted to tell about this. Oh, there's one more thing. I forgot. The Monaco 1988 qualifying lap. It's one of the most famous laps in Formula 1 history. And Senna told that he felt that he was out of his body, that he was on another level with his mind. And I'll see if I can read it for you. It was on Saturday, 14 May 1988, that Ayrton Senna went into overdrive, blitzing the F1 field, including his great rival Alain Prost in an identical McLaren. In a classic interview with Gerald Donaldson, Senna revealed, "I was no longer driving the car consciously, I was driving it by instinct, only I was in a different dimension. I was over the limit but still able to find even more. It frightened me because I realized I was well beyond my conscious understanding." This lap is, as I said, it's one of the most famous laps in Formula 1 history. And it was on 14 May 1988, and it's the 40th anniversary of the rebirth of Israel as a nation. Those of you who are educated in the Bible know that 40 years immediately reminds of the Exodus. So it was a special day on God's calendar, and it certainly was a special day for Senna, and Formula 1 fans are still talking about this special lap. So I like the idea that Senna got a little help on that day. Yeah, I have no doubt that more will follow. But for now I want to end this video. If you like what I told you, please feel welcome to like this video, to share it with your friends, subscribe to my channel. I have no doubt that there will be more, because many modern day events have numerical relations to the end time dates and to the rebirth of Israel. So history and future are connected through biblical numerical patterns. And yeah, as I said in the beginning, I expect a lot of controversy, a lot of comments. Date setting is controversial. Everyone up until now has been proven wrong. But as I said, my book explains a lot and it's a very coherent story. I'm open if you can find flaws in it. I can't find them. And if you want to support me making more videos like this, you can pre-order the book. I'll include a link in the description below. And yeah, as I said, if you subscribe to the video, you'll see the next one appearing in soon. Thank you for watching, and I hope that this encourages you. And if you want to reach out to me personally, I'll include a link to the website or a direct email link in the description as well. Thanks for watching.